In 2017, a modest game about an ink demon appears on the GameJolt platform. A few days later, YouTube explodes with hundreds of thousands of views, which only pushes the production to a wider audience. Today, Bendy is a brand worth millions of dollars, and it all started with a seemingly insignificant project. But in this video, we will focus on the details of the game that started it all. Bendy and the Ink Machine is a Bioshock-inspired indie game created and published by Joey Drew Studios. The production first saw the light of day on the GameJolt platform, where its first chapter was released on February 10th, 2017. The work of Joey Drew Studios has a very interesting graphic style reminiscent of older cartoons, for example Disney. Most likely, after seeing Bendy, a light bulb went off somewhere in your head and reminded you of Mickey Mouse steering a ship. It was something striking which certainly contributed to the fact that soon after, creators such as Markiplier, Jacksepticeye or Corey Kenshin uploaded their Let's Plays from this production to YouTube, spreading it to a wider audience. And while we're on the topic of YouTube, remember to leave a like and subscribe to the channel to help me develop and make even better videos for you. Channels such as DA Games and JT Music go along with them, creating fun songs that only added fuel to the fire. On February 28, 2017, the game was accepted by Steam Greenlight, and the buzz surrounding Joey Drew Studios' production motivated them to create the second chapter titled The Old Song, which was announced in March and released on April 18, 2017. Shortly after, on April 27, 2017, the first chapter was released for free on Steam with the option to purchase Chapter 2 as DLC. Work on Chapter 3, called Rise and Fall, was announced in May 2017, and the chapter itself was released on September 28, 2017. Chapter 4, Colossal Wonders, which was announced on November 17, 2017, was released on April 30, 2018. And now it's time for the last part, that is Chapter 5, titled The Last Reel. Work on it was announced on June 4th, 2018, and the chapter itself was released on October 26th, 2018. My last reels are at 3 AM when I fall asleep with my phone in my hand, and it used to be not that rare. It is worth adding that with each release of a new chapter, previous ones were remastered. The next day, the game on Steam underwent a small transformation because from the first chapter being free and the remaining 4 paid as DLC, Bendy and the Ink Machine became simply a paid game, after purchasing which we can play all chapters. Later, the production received ports to platforms such as Xbox, PlayStation and Nintendo Switch. This is the story of how Bendy and the Ink Machine came to be, from a small project that some might even call a demo to a full-fledged production known and loved by thousands. We'll cover what happens after Bendy and the Ink Machine another time, but first let's ask ourselves, what about other aspects of this production? Gameplay. When it comes to gameplay aspects, you could say that Bendy and the Ink Machine is a bit like exponential function. The first chapter is quite boring and doesn't have much to offer, which is quite understandable because the initial version was created in less than a week, and at that stage the creators didn't expect such success. Similar situation to Scott Cawthon and his Five Nights at Freddy's. He also didn't expect such success, and that's why people are still working on a plot. Good thing I've already left that ship, although maybe someday I'll make a video about Five Nights at Freddy's. Who knows? In fact, the first chapter is mostly about walking from place to place and completing find this, put it there, click a button tasks. However, work on the second chapter took 6 weeks, and it shows because even the initial version has a little more to offer compared to the first chapter. The chapter is longer, introduces 2 new characters, and in addition to find it, put it there, click a button tasks that run throughout the game, we also have a fight with enemies and a puzzle to solve. And at the end, a cutscene and a direct meeting with Bendy. The final version of the chapter also introduces a tunnel full of ink and an additional valve puzzle. Chapter 3 is by far the longest chapter of the 5 in terms of content. It was created by 6 people and the production time was at least 4 months. This chapter also introduces 2 new characters and has a lot of tasks to complete, most of which are find it, put it there, click a button type tasks, but sometimes some puzzles are involved. Of course, there's also combat, as several tasks require us to fight enemies, and additionally, danger awaits us randomly placed on the map. In this chapter, we finally come face to face with the ink demon, which, if we explore the area long enough, can appear out of nowhere and walk around the map for a while, posing a direct danger to us. During one of the missions, there's also a scripted meeting with Bendy where after completing the task an ink demon appears very close to us, and then it will be better if we hide in one of the hiding spots called Little Miracle Station available on the map. After entering such a spot, each opponent leaves us alone, and when he leaves, we can leave and continue the adventure. And at the end, a cutscene and another chapter awaits us. Chapter 4 also introduces 2 new characters, but the tasks here are slightly different from those we had before. There's a bit more variety here because, for example, to click a button, we first have to complete minigames, distract enemies with cans, or go through a little boss fight in the middle of the game. In the 4th chapter, they introduced 2 such boss fights, which are not super difficult, but I'm still glad that something like this was included in the game, because it adds a bit of freshness. This chapter also introduces machines into which you can put ink and create the item we need, some strange visions that I don't really know what they do or what their meaning is, and probably the most interesting thing, a fucking UFC fight, Bendy versus the projectionist. I'm taking bets, people, what's going on there? What is he doing to him? Ooh, blown off his head and that's it. Yeah, we can all go home now. Chapter 5 is the last part of our journey, and here at the very beginning we get a small bump in the form of rather long cutscene by Bendy standards and ton of dialogue. Additionally, we receive some strange device that allows us to see hidden text on the walls. This device wasn't very useful for me, but oh well. Overall, this chapter is quite short and can be actually divided into a fight with enemies, a maze, and a 2-phase boss fight with Bendy. I don't want to go into too much detail because we will analyze the content of all the chapters in more detail when we get to the plot, which we can actually do now because I don't really have anything more to add when it comes to gameplay or other technical things. Please remember that if I have mixed up or missed something, I apologize. The comment section is for you experts. Story. Chapter 1. Moving Pictures. The plot of Bendy and the Ink Machine begins with a letter on which we can read, "Dear Henry, it seems like a lifetime since we worked on cartoons together. 30 years really slips away, doesn't it? If you're back in town, come visit the old workshop. There's something I need to show you. Your best pal, Joey Drew." Henry accepts an invitation from an old friend and shows up at the workshop. Walking through the corridors, he comes to a mysterious room that looks quite empty. To find out what is really hidden inside, the main character must power the mechanism with 2 batteries located nearby. After completing the task, the ink machine emerges from the floor and Henry decides to turn it on. To do this, he needs to find 6 items: a gear, Bendy doll, book, ink jar, record, and a wrench. Once they are all found and the ink flow is turned on, the machine finally works. We head towards it, and when we are standing at the entrance, it turns out that someone has boarded it up. As we get a little closer, the ink demon himself jumps out at us. The main character runs to the exit in panic, but when he is just a few steps from the door, the floor collapses under him and he falls down. Passing through ink-drenched floors and boarded-up passageways, Henry reaches a room with a pentagram drawn on the floor. As he approaches it, he sees visions of the ink machine, a wheelchair, and Bendy, then loses consciousness and falls to the floor. Chapter 2: The Old Song. The main character wakes up and decides to continue searching for a way out of this cursed place. He reaches a corridor filled with ink, and as he enters it, he sees a mysterious figure walking past carrying a Bendy cutout. He tries to call him, but the figure does not respond and after a while disappears under unexplained circumstances. After this strange encounter, Henry must click 3 buttons to open the door and proceed. Behind this door is Sammy Lawrence's music studio, which is quite dark, so we need to turn on the electricity. We look for a room with a lever, and when we find it, it turns out to be completely flooded with ink. So we have to find some way to remove all the liquid from here. Luckily, the lever is not fluted, so we can turn on the electricity. We leave the room and are attacked by strange creatures called searchers. After the fight, we look around the recording studio and find the door blocked by flowing ink. To open them, we need to cut off the fluid flow, but first you need to find the keys to open the closet. After opening, we get clues about a puzzle that requires us to play the right instruments in the right order. By solving the puzzle, we open another door behind which there is a valve, but this one is not enough, so we have to find and close the second one. As we leave, we can see a figure looking down at us. This is Sammy Lawrence, a former employee of Joey Drew Studios who was involved in music. We head toward the exit, but suddenly we are attacked by searchers again. After the fight, we can move on, that is down. The valve we turned off removed all the ink from one of the rooms that lead us down the stairs, and it's not the room with the lever. Going down, we can find the second valve that we need to close, but it is missing a key part. That is the valve wheel, so we have to look for it somewhere. We go even lower to something that looks like a sewer system, where a searcher in a cap is waiting for us, holding our valve wheel in his hands. There is a puzzle associated with it, in which we have to place searcher in the right place and kill him. Well, Bendy's word is pretty brutal if you're an ink mush. We take the valve wheel, close the valve, and finally we can enter the desired room. Inside there is a lever that should pump out all the ink from the room we were in at the beginning. So we switch the lever and go back to that room. But suddenly we are hit in the head with something, lose consciousness, and the cutscene starts.
There we go now, nice and tight. We wouldn't want our sheep roaming away now, would we? No, we wouldn't. I must admit, I am honored you came all the way down here to visit me. It almost makes what I'm about to do seem cruel. But the believers must honor their savior. I must have him notice me. Wait, you look familiar to me. That face. Not now, for our Lord is calling to us, my little sheep. The time of sacrifice is at hand. And then I will finally be freed from this prison, this inky, dark abyss I call a body. Shh, quiet. Listen, I can hear him crawling above, crawling. Let us begin. The ritual must be completed. Soon he will hear me. He will set us free.
Hear me, Bendy. Arise from the darkness. Arise and claim my offering. Free me, I beg you. I summon you, ink demon. Show your face and take this tender sheep. No, my lord, stay back. I am your prophet. I am your God.
We free ourselves, take the axe, and have to defeat several searchers. After the fight, we move on, and from the room flooded with ink, the ink demon Bendy emerges and starts chasing us. We run through the corridors until we finally reach the door, which closes behind us, and we are safe. A few steps further, a cannon rolls out from around the corner, and behind it comes a new character, Boris. Chapter 3: Rise and Fall. We wake up in a safe house, which we have to leave, and upon exiting, it turns out that the lever is missing. Probably Boris has it, but nothing is free, so to get this lever from him, we first need to make him a soup. After completing the task, Boris gives us the lever and we both leave the safe house. We go through corridors and halls until we reach the toy machine, which we have to repair by removing toys from the mechanisms. We unlock the mechanism and go to the next room, where after a while lights go out and a new character appears behind the glass, Alice Angel, who breaks the glass and disappears. The lights return to normal and we move on to a corridor where we must choose a path. We can choose between Demon Path and Angel Path. These paths differ in the cassette we will be able to listen to. We continue down the corridor and Boris decides to give us a little heart attack. Very funny, but maybe you could show us the way out of this shithole. Boris gives us a weapon and we go further, where we have to switch a lever at the same time. We reach the place and suddenly a new enemy jumps out of the poster, a member of the Butcher Gang. We kill him, flip the lever and continue through the corridors until we reach the elevator, where Alice's monologue begins.
You're so interesting. So different.
Miss? I'm a fucking miner. We go to the 9th floor, go through the corridor and end up in a room that is quite macabre because there are corpses of other Boris that Alice used scattered around. Our Boris has to stay here for a while because we go a little further where Alice is waiting for us, torturing one of the Butcher Gang members. From her monologue we can understand that she wants to be perfect and she has a little left to achieve this goal. Additionally, she says that she will allow us to live and become her errand boy who must complete several tasks. Some fellas be like, please. We return to the room with the elevator and begin work. First, we need to collect 3 special gears for Alice. When we go upstairs, she wants us to watch out for the Ink Demon, who, if we walk the corridors long enough, will appear in the area, posing a direct threat to us. We collect the gears and return to the elevator, put the collected items into a special container, and Alice gives us another boring task. That is collecting 3 extra ink and 3 valve cores. The 4th task is a bit more interesting and probably won't be very pleasant for our ink demon because we have to destroy all the Bendy cutouts. After completing the task, Bendy appears nearby and is most likely extremely angry and wants to tear us apart for destroying his beautiful images. We return to Alice and are immediately forced to fight the Butcher Gang, which we have to kill. Apparently we have some heated beef here between Alice Angel and the Butcher Gang. Torture there, a fight here, I wonder what else. After the fight, we get Tommy Gun and an order to go down, but Tommy Gun melts away, so fuck you, Alice. We take the elevator down to the very bottom and meet the projectionist, who is navigating a small maze flooded with ink. Avoiding the newly met character, we must collect 5 ink hearts and return to Alice. After completing the task, Alice finally leaves us alone.
I hope you enjoyed our time together.
Fuck you, Alice. We go back to the elevator and we can finally leave the workshop, right? Right? Well, not exactly, because Alice wants our This sounds very weird. Not exactly, because Alice wants our Boris, so she breaks the elevator and we start falling down. Well buddy, you're screwed, good luck. The elevator finally hits the ground and we lose consciousness. The last thing we see is Boris trying to wake us up. Unfortunately, he fails and Alice, who is behind, kidnaps him. Chapter 4: Colossal Wonders. We wake up at level S, intended for accounting and finance. Well, I don't know if I would like to work in some basement X meters underground, but cool. We take the wheel to the door and go to the archives, where we see the lost ones for the first time, in the form of a figure. And we have to move a few books to go further. With one of the books, we get a vision, which still puzzles me because there's nothing interesting in it, except for a swinging chandelier. We move on, and from the archives we suddenly find ourselves over a huge abyss with hanging cages and a broken bridge with a cart, which we have to repair by taking ink from a nearby pipe and inserting it into the machine, which after a while will spit out the missing gear. We're passing over a cliff and we're about to fall. Oh, who would have expected it? We made it. We enter a long corridor and another vision occurs, which is a bit more impressive because we see inky hands sticking out of the wall. I feel a little uncomfortable, please don't touch me, I will call the police. We go up the stairs, listening to Alice talking shit on and on, shut the fuck up, until we reach a room where we see the lost one walking by, and he doesn't look too happy. A year ago I would say that this is a relatable character. We move on and oh, well, there are a few more of them, and they look even more depressing. No, guys, keep your heads up, it'll be fine, I guess. We avoid them, take the flashlight and enter the ventilation as if it were FNAF 2. Second FNAF reference, amazing. At the end, the ink demon jumps out at us as if it were FNAF 4. Third FNAF reference, amazing. Well, Bendy apparently knows where we are but decides not to kill us yet. Thanks, I really appreciate it. Crawling further through the ventilation system, we can hear strange sounds which upon examination turns out to be another lost one, which looks, well, quite tragic. But continuing, we exit the ventilation, switch the lever and enter Bendy Hell. The first task we need to complete is to play a few minigames and switch lever. The second task is to distract the Butcher Gang with empty cans and switch lever. Well, these tasks weren't that bad, I wonder what will be the third one. Boss fight. The third task is a literal boss fight. Fortunately, this boss fight is not super difficult, so we quickly deal with Bertram Piermont, that's the name of the character we are fighting, flip the lever and go back. In the fourth task, we meet the well-known projectionist, who simply walks around in circles and we have to switch one lever, another lever and come back. On our way back, the projectionist appears behind us and starts chasing us, so we have to hide in a little miracle station. This time our stalker has a bit more IQ, so he starts checking the station, but before he can open the door, Bendy jumps on him and starts to punch him, then rips his head off and walks away. A day like any other. We leave the station and return to Bendy Hell, switch the last lever and the door opens in front of us, behind which there is a train that we board.
Now, the ride truly begins, Henry.
Oh fuck, it's her again. Alice is talking shit to us again and asks why we are here. I don't know, fucking let me out. I have a wife, children and alone, I have to go back to work. We leave these corridors and find ourselves in a quite nice looking room. We reach the exit and it turns out that our friendly Boris has turned into a killing machine that we need to fight. We start the boss fight, which involves hitting him several times with a pipe, and he lies on the floor and dissolves into ink, disappearing. Furious, Alice runs towards us but is suddenly pierced with a machete. She falls dead to the floor, and behind her 2 new characters are standing, Good Alice and Tom. Chapter 5: The Last Reel. The last chapter begins with a rather long cutscene that shows life in the underground and the developing relationship between Henry, Alice and Tom. At first, they are both distrustful towards us, but as the time goes by, Alice starts to warm up and Tom is a dick. Fucking bitch, I wanted to eat that. At some point, Alice gives us a special device that allows us to see hidden writings on the wall. So Alice Angel after all, cool. During one of the characters' expeditions, most likely Bendy notices Tom, which puts all 3 of the characters in danger. As Alice says, it's only a matter of time before he finds them here. A moment later, we wake up again and this time the ink demon is at the door, so we have to evacuate. Except, we're locked in a cell. Alice wants to save us, but she can destroy the board, so she and Tom leave us and run away. Using a special tool, we locate the hidden toilet? I hope the main character wasn't kept here for too long because it could have been unpleasant. In which we find a good old pipe, thanks to which we can destroy the barricade and escape. We travel through underground tunnels until we reach something resembling a port, where a boat is waiting for us. We board it and follow Alice and Tom's trail through the ink tubes, from which unfortunately at some point a large hand emerges from and we have to escape. Driving forward and periodically removing ink from our boat, we reach the shore. Wanting to go further, we encounter a barricaded door, and when we approach it, Sammy Lawrence runs out and we start a fight with him. At some point, we destroy his mask and he runs to the center, covering his face. When we approach him, he grabs us and throws us to the floor, raises an axe, and just as he's about to kill us, Tom sneaks up behind him. Sammy dies and we get the axe from our new friend. You know what, Tom? I forgive you for fucking up my dinner. You're a cool dude. We get up from the floor and reunite with Alice and Tom, who luckily were nearby. Alice, would you like to trade? Because this machete looks nice and I want it. Unfortunately, the fight with Sammy is not the end of our worries, because after a while, searchers and the lost ones start appearing around us and we have to fight them. Actually, Alice and Tom have, because if you want you can just stand there and watch. After the fight, we go further and this time we have to go through a tunnel that has no floor. The only way is spread out boards, but unfortunately one of them breaks and we fall down. We enter a room and look around until we go a little further and see a pipe system with several parts missing. So our next task will be to fill the gaps. We return to the main room, switch the lever that opens the administration, we enter and the first thing we see is the Butcher Gang. Holy shit, not them. We have to go through this mini maze and collect pieces of ink to put them into the machine that will create the necessary parts for us. After completing this task, we can move on and this time we have to look around the large vault with tapes. Unfortunately, there isn't much to it as Alice briefly summarizes. What are they doing here? Well, they just came down using a rope. Suddenly, Henry says that he knows where we need to go to defeat the Ink Demon. Alice guesses that Henry is talking about Ink Demon's lair and if we are crazy. Well, unfortunately, it seems that Henry is sober, so no, please take me to his lair. To get there, we have to go through the next door. But to open them, Alice will need 3 gears, a crowbar, some kind of counterbalance and... Well, I like you even more, Tom. We go through the door and suddenly find ourselves in a place that is very reminiscent of the workshop from the first chapter. A little further, we see a corridor with a window behind which Bendy passes. We leave the tunnel and a huge ink machine appears before us with black liquid pouring out of it. Alice explains that we have to go there alone because if she or Tom touch the ink surrounding the object, it could end badly for them. So we get inside with...
They could have at least given me a weapon.
A very positive attitude, and after a while we stand before the throne of the Ink Demon. We listen to a cassette in which Joey Drew himself addresses Henry directly. He tells a story of what they accomplished together and how it all fell apart, leaving behind only a shadow of the past. But there's a way to save everyone. It turns out Bendy saw his beginning but never saw the end. We take the tape with us, and from behind the throne, Bendy himself emerges, transforming into a huge ink beast, and with one blow throwing us to the next room where we have to switch several levers to proceed. We go down a rather long corridor, at the end of which there's a room with 4 tubes. We turn the valve and fill them all with ink. And after a short while, Bendy appears, whom we have to lure to destroy all the containers himself. After this fight, Bendy disappears and we go back to the room with his throne, where we insert the tape with the ending. Bendy, seeing the ending, vanishes into thin air and we are teleported to a house where Joey Drew himself is waiting for us.
I didn't expect you for another hour yet. Now you're just trying to impress me. But I know. You have questions. You always do. The only important question is this. Who are we, Henry? I thought I knew who I was. But the success starved me. Nothing left but lines on the page. In the end, we followed 2 different roads of our own making. You, a lovely family. Me, a crooked empire. And my road burned. I let our creations become my life. The truth is, you were always so good at pushing, old friend. Pushing me to do the right thing. You should have pushed a little harder. Henry, come visit the old workshop. There's something I need to show you.
All right, Joey. I'm here. Let's see if we can find what you wanted me to see.
And that's how Bendy's story ends. Additionally, after the first part of the credits, we see a cutscene where the ink machine is standing in one of the rooms in Joey's house and a picture hanging on the wall with congratulations from Henry. After the second part of the credits, we gain access to the seeing tool in all chapters and to an additional chapter called Archives. Summary: Bendy and the Ink Machine is a game that, thanks to the help of content creators, quickly grew from an insignificant project on an indie gaming website into a giant known today to hundreds of thousands of people. The result is that today we can play 4 productions released by Joey Drew Studios on Steam. Additionally, 2 are announced, and in the meantime we can also buy a t-shirt or a metal poster with our Ink Demon and the rest of the characters. And what about you? Do you think Bendy and the Ink Machine deserves the fame it received? Or is it just the opposite? Let me know in the comments. And that's all for today. Let me know in the comments if you liked the video, what can I improve or do better, because I'm constantly trying to improve my videos for you, and what game would you like to see on the channel in the future. Remember to subscribe to the channel and leave a like because it helps me develop. In the meantime, I invite you to my Instagram, TikTok, Twitter and Kick because I'm going to start streaming someday. Have a nice day and see you next time.